Good news, everyone!
New Battleground heroes have been confirmed. It's here. We don't need to talk about data mining, although some of the data mining actually helped us know things that weren't answered in this post that went up just a couple of hours ago at the time of recording this podcast. So if you haven't checked this out, you can go. It's on the official Hearthstone website right now, titled Hearthstone Battlegrounds Update November 19. But the big thing right at the top of this, the biggest news in Hearthstone this week, is that new heroes have been added to Hearthstone Battlegrounds. This update, by the way, is like live now, as we speak. So we have 4 new heroes in total, replacing 4 heroes in total in Battlegrounds. The first up is Sindragosa. And Sindragosa's has a passive hero power that reads, at the end of your turn, frozen minions get +1/+1, as I almost trigger a cough. I'm almost better, everybody. I'm pretty much better. But
yeah, so to me, and I haven't actually seen her played yet, but this would mean that like you freeze the tavern for next turn, and then everything in that tavern gets +1/+1. So
yes.
Then when you buy it the next turn, you have a buffed minion.
Yes.
That's interesting.
This seems very good to me.
Mm-hmm. Which is really funny because the chat room's like, Cindy seems bad.
I disagree. I mean this in jest. Unless you're Brian Kibler, who, for the love of God, man, I watch your videos, re-roll more. You leave so much gold on the board, man. If you're Disguised Toast, who re-rolls as much as I like him to when I watch his videos, this is probably good. I think it's kind of, there's edge case scenarios where this is kind of bad, but you should be freezing, especially if you get to the late game, and especially if you're going like a buff strategy, which right now is a pretty damn good strategy to chase. Because there's multiple ways to do it. You can chase a buff strategy if you go for tribes, or you can chase a buff strategy if you go a menagerie build, if you're kind of all over the place with what you're synergizing with. And a lot of times you're just buying, if you are buying Battlecry minions and selling them, I think Sindragosa is going to be good, because when you deploy that strategy, you are constantly re-rolling, and it is pretty frequent that you find a Battlecry minion or 3 on a reroll that you can't afford this turn that you freeze for next turn. That's already happening. Now, if you're Sindragosa...
But if they're Battlecry minions and you're going to sell them, then it doesn't matter if they get buffed.
Well, that is true. Yes. Didn't think this one through.
I was like, what?
But it's not just that. There's other factors at play of you're freezing. There's other things you find because you're doing this. It's it's just the heavy reroll strategy really comes into play when you're chasing these kind of buff builds. But you're usually also picking up 3 ofs along the way. The +1 is going to help with that. I don't know. I like this. I do think it's going to probably have some fall off late game. But
yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? It's like I'm kind of on the fence about this, because to get a really good like use out of your hero power, you're probably going to want to be buying 2, right? Which is going to be 6 gold, which means you're looking at like you're a few turns in, and you wouldn't necessarily want to do this when on a turn when you have a lot of, or you're going to be upgrading your tavern, right? So if I'm like looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, next turn I'm going to be upgrading my tavern, so there's no real point in doing this, right? Like it seems like she'd be like a mid game type thing, because late game +1/+1 isn't going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you have enough gold to make it worth it in the early game when it would really matter, right? Like I don't know. I'm on the fence about her, I think.
I've been getting further and further away from what you just said, which is like, don't freeze if you're going to level up. Because there's I've found myself a lot in the past week in situations where I know I'm going to level up next turn, but I freeze anyway. As a matter of fact, a big way to kind of get the most bang for your gold is when you find that third, if it lines up, if a third is across the board from you and you can't afford it this turn, and you know you're going to level up next turn, that's like the perfect case scenario, because you're going to buy that third next turn. It's going to merge. You're going to be able to get a discover after you rank up. And now you're also going to get an additional +1/+1 for your trouble.
I guess my point is just that, like, if you, like, in the part of the game where +1/+1 would really matter, and you're like, you basically need 10 gold to do everything that you just talked about, to buy, to upgrade your tavern, to, you know, do all that stuff. So if it's at that point of the game, then I don't know how much the +1/+1 really matters. Like, to me, +1/+1 matters more earlier on, I would think.
I don't know. I would really push against you need 10 gold, because if you're saving, you don't necessarily, and it's all relative to how long you've stayed at a certain rank, which can really, mileage varies depending on the strategy you're trying to deploy. That's the only thing I would really push back against there. But I was definitely, listen, I didn't put too much stock in the data mining because it wasn't confirmed, so I haven't actually spent a lot of I've spent an hour thinking about Sindragosa, and I didn't think about Battlecry menus to sell them. I'm an idiot. Yeah, ignore that, everyone. But I still think this is okay. I'm also after last week's episode, we've had like a lot of people being like, this hero is so much better than you said, or this hero is so much worse than you said. So I've just been beaten into a little bit of submission here of thinking a lot of heroes are a little bit better than I previously thought. Except all of you who came out of the woodwork for Ragnaros, you are crazy. Like, you're actually crazy. Congratulations. That was the hero that I feel
like people that win with Rag are almost like winning in spite of him. Like, they're just saying that they, like, okay, I just won't have a hero power, and I just am Ragnaros because he's cool, and also I'm very good at this game, so I'm just gonna win, and I don't need the extra crutch of a hero power. Hoolog
Gaming in the chat room says it correctly. They are sorcerers. If you're winning with Ragnaros, you're actually a sorcerer. And honestly, as an addendum to last week, I thought we mentioned this, but I don't think we highlighted it enough. You can win with any hero, because drafting is way heavier more weight in this game than what hero you end up with. It's just, we were talking about how much does this hero and their attached hero power increase my overall average of placing high in a session in a game of Battlegrounds.
Right. It's like which hero powers impact the drafting portion, really. Because that's like, you know, the more impact you have on actually getting your minions and making them as powerful as possible. Like, because you can't control, like, yes, you can position your minions and that will control what order they attack, but you can't choose their targets in any way. It's all random. So you just want to have the strongest board you can. So in that way, the hero powers that impact your drafting are going to be slightly better. But again, like, it all depends on what ends up on the other side of the tavern and how the random rolls go when you're actually in combat. All of that stuff is out of your control. The stuff you can control is which minions you picked when you draft and how well they synergize with your hero power. And some hero powers in that way are better than others.
Yep. So I would say Sindragosa is probably slightly below middle of the pack for me. I think we put Jiraxis too high, by the way. And at some point, I want to have a conversation with you about kind of paring our board down to fewer sections, because I definitely had too many sections. And I'd like to kind of just revisit it every now and then and just move things around. Just like, do we agree with this? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, let's just move it.
Well, dude, I mean, like, I feel like you're going to have to do like tier lists every couple of weeks, because I mean, even just not only the addition of 4 heroes, but the fact that 4 heroes are leaving means that there's going to be a shift in what's good and what's bad, because like, we're taking out huge synergies here. Like, we're taking out mechs and beasts right now, but with the heroes that are rotating out. So that's just going to fundamentally change what's going on in Battlegrounds. So you have to do a new tier list. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think I'm putting. I don't want to commit to anything, everyone, because there's just so much Hearthstone to talk about. It's honestly hard to fit certain things in. But I'm putting serious thought into a standalone Battlegrounds segment where we just have the hero wall, where we just move heroes around every week. Just like, how you feeling this week? Did you learn something new? Like on slower weeks, and then obviously big weeks like this when new heroes come in and old heroes leave. Like, there's just I think a fun conversation to be had. But you know, Angry Chicken is an ever-evolving podcast, and we will let you know. Anyways, moving on from Sindragosa, another new hero that's coming in is Elise Starseeker. Elise also has a passive hero power that reads, when you upgrade the tavern, get a recruitment map. Now, according to data mining, it's a discover a minion from tier X. The note on the official...
it says tier 0, but yeah, that's not a thing.
There's no way that's a thing. Yeah.
I changed it to X, like someone who actually does math.
Yeah. The note in the official
0 has a value, people.
The official post says, note that the recruitment map recruits a minion from your current tavern tier after upgrading Bob's Tavern. That is weird.
Yes. It's kind of like roundabout wording, but I think essentially what they mean is that it's going to work like the discover card that you get when you get a triple, basically, is you're going to discover a minion from the higher of the 2 tiers that Bob's Tavern has been that turn. So it's like you upgrade the tavern and then you get a minion, you get to discover a minion of that level. So if you go from 3 to 4, you get to discover a 4. You go from 2 to 3, you get to discover a 3, so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
However, it does from data mining anyways, it does look like the map has a cost in and of itself. It looks like the map costs the same amount as recruiting a minion. Not confirmed yet because they didn't give us too many details in this actual blog post, but I do think the recruitment map does cost you money. So the discovering part is powerful, I think, and shouldn't be underrated. But yeah.
I mean, discover is very powerful.
It's still not free like the triple is.
No, but it would be kind of busted to get like double upgrades. It would be
super broken.
Like, yeah, it would be insane.
Super broken.
This is still good. I think if Toki going up to 2 gold has taught us anything, like this is fine. This is totally fine. I think that's like my gut reaction is paying 3 to do it again. I think it's kind of gross. So.
Not to mention, it's a card, right? So it's a card that goes into your hand. So even if you don't have the money necessarily to play it on that turn, you can always play it next turn.
Exactly. Zoom in a little bit on this for the video, for the visual crowd. Next is Bran Bronzebeard. I've only said that name a million times. What's wrong with me? Bran also has a passive hero power. I'm noticing a trend here. After you play a Battlecry minion, give a random friendly minion +1/+1. You know what? The stupid crap I said about Battlecry minions on Sindragosa, just copy and paste that here, and I'm right. There we go. This seems good because this is a really strong way to play the game right now. And as I already mentioned, there's multiple ways to dispatch this strategy.
Well, and see, this is good because it doesn't actually cost you anything. You just have to go a battle cry type strategy, and then it's just a thing that always happens. So like if you get the alley cat and you play it, would it buff the token?
It should.
Yeah, so it feels like a thing that's just going to happen always, like, which just to me feels better than, like the Sindragosa power.
I mean, would it, if it's after you play a Battlecry minion, would it have a chance to buff the minion you played as well?
I don't know.
Again, this has been out for like an hour.
I haven't had any. I haven't actually seen any of them in my Battlegrounds round.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I gave it my damnedest. I certainly had the best first place victory I have ever had since this went live right before the show. Oh my god, I was at 8 health against an undefeated curator and ended up winning the next like 5 rounds in a row between him and the George the Fallen, and I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe I pulled it off. Toki's still really good, everybody. Just FYI.
Yeah, Toki's good.
I think Bran Bronzebeard is really good. Maybe I would tie Bran and Elise. My gut reaction is these are 2 top tier heroes in Battlegrounds. Maybe Bran ekes out Elise because I just love passive buffing. Like it has more or less been proven to be pretty damn good in Battlegrounds, whereas Elise is really strong, but how many games have you gotten mad because you couldn't pick up that third? So if you're not doing any upgrades, Elise is going to just add fuel to your rage fire. So find your zen, Elise players, is what I'm telling you. But I think these both have.
I think Elise is
huge.
Elise is decent, but I think Bran is the best one we've seen so far of these new heroes.
Yeah. And then finally, Sir Finley Mergleton comes to Battlegrounds with the only new hero to not have a passive hero power. Sir Finley has a 1 gold hero power that gives a random friendly minion +1/+1 after you sell a minion. Refresh this. I think this is okay.
I think this is pretty decent, especially if, like you said, you're going down a battle or a battle cry type road. Then I mean, you're going to be selling all the time, and then sell, buff, sell, buff. Seems good. Kind of like feeds into itself, right? Because it costs 1 and you get 1 when you sell. So
yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like King Muckla's bananas are just better, even though they're not as.
Well, he's gone though.
Well, he is leaving. Yes, that is true. But I don't think Muckla's. I'm more speaking from a place of trying to compare this to power levels we understand, and Muckla is a power level we understand. And I think whether Muckla's in or out, this is not as good. So I kind of think of Finley lower. Certainly worse heroes. I think like heroes, I would pick Finley over a lot of other kind of lower end heroes. Like I think this is okay. I think I would put this just below middle of the road average. I think because I'm not super thrilled with the idea of having to pay a gold for this. I know I've made a big deal about buff strategies already on this episode, but paying a gold for a +1/+1 really falls off in its capability. And if you're chasing those buff strategies, you're re-rolling a lot. And so 1 gold spent is another re-roll you're not doing. And the upside of most Battlecry minions, like Battlecry buffing minions that you could find off of a re-roll, I think is on average a lot higher value than this 1 gold power up.
Fair enough.
That's kind of where my brain's going on Finley. This is about the only one that I saw and I immediately had a pretty well-formed thought about. I was like, oh, value-wise, I don't think this cuts it. But it's all right.
I'm just excited about a refreshing hero power. I think that this is a cool thing that they're going to be playing with. And I think like it's kind of hard. I want to play more and see how all of this is really going to shake out, because now that we're seeing that they're taking out specifically Muckla, which is also kind of funny that they just buffed him and now he's out of the rotation. But Muckla and Maleficent, I don't know why I have such a hard time saying her name, but those pushed down very specific tribal roots. They were powerful. Mechs and beasts we talked about last week were the most powerful in Battlegrounds, and some of that's getting nerfed / they're changing how some of the Murlocs and demons work just to kind of bump them up a little bit and kind of even out the tribes a little. So the fact that they're taking out these tribal heroes makes me really wonder about what all this is going to look like, and if we are kind of balancing things out a little bit better, and if we're living in a more balanced world, then does something like Sir Finley's power actually work in a world that doesn't have beasts and mechs specific hero buffs, like pushing down that tribal route. It's just a little bit more flexible, and I want to see what the meta looks like, in a couple days.
Yeah. It's just that you're paying that flexibility is where my brain just goes, hit the brakes on the excitement. Which, although it's Finley, I'm predisposed to want to like him. So
Right.
as you already alluded to, there are 4 heroes leaving the Battlegrounds as well. King Muckla.
We just, before we go too far, can we just talk about where the hell's Reno? Is Reno secretly Sindragosa? Is that what they're trying to tell us?
So Reno,
that is his like dragon form.
Reno. Oh, you're right. Cause it's everyone but Reno. I think
they're
just trolling us. They're like 3 explorers and a dragon, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's a dragon! Dragon confirmed."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. We're also going to talk about
Sindragosa.
Learn Draconic today again. So,
Yeah.
The conspiracies continue.
Yeah.
But yeah, heroes leaving the battleground. King Muckla is out, as you already mentioned. Giant Finn is out. No one will be sad. Maleficent Manastorm is out. I'm sad. And Lich Baziel is out. And everyone goes, Oh, that hero I took on accident that one time and then will never take again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2, I think, really good heroes and 2, last week we literally called Giant Finn and Lich the 2 worst heroes in the game. So,
yeah.
Mucklin.
So they took out the top and the bottom and then gave us some kind of middle to high.
Yeah. I mean, this is overall, I think it's definitely a power improvement over Giant Finn and Lich. I
think a little bit less than Maleficent and Mukla, I think.
I don't know. I'm looking at Bran and I'm looking at Elise like you might just blow the roof off the joint. I'm not sure.
I do like Elise a lot. I think she's powerful. But I think that, Maleficent and Mukla are powerful too. So
yeah, I agree. And then we're getting some balance updates. They're changing some cards, and I think we mentioned this last week.
So I said this kind of weird. They're not actually like changing the cards. The cards are still going to do what the cards are going to do. They're just moving tavern tiers.
I was leading into that with, we talked about this last week. If they had to change a card, how would they? Because the majority of the cards in Battlegrounds are cards that exist in Hearthstone. And it seems important to the team that it stays that way. And at least for this round of balance updates, they figured out a way around it, because we didn't even think about changing tiers, but that's exactly what's happening here. Primal Fin Lookout is going from tier 5 to tier 4. Void Lord's going from tier 6 to tier 5. Junkbot is going from tier 4 to tier 5. Thank God.
Yeah, that was too low for sure.
Yeah. Although with Maleficent, it doesn't matter. It's still insane. And then Cold Light Seer is going from tier 3 to tier 2. Which I enjoy as well. They also gave us developer comments, which I love these. I'm used to only seeing these in my Heroes of the Storm balance notes, but they said they wanted to buff both demons and murlocs, so they moved those minions down a tavern tier. Conversely, Junkbot was a bit too strong for tier 4, and often made it so mech players never had a good reason to upgrade to tavern tier 5. I agree. With these changes, we think the minion types are closer together in power level. I like all of these changes. Mm-hmm. Except maybe, could we just get rid of Void Lord and put a different demon in? Because I just kind of think
you don't like Void Lords?
I think Void Lord is one of the poorer cards in the format. I don't. I've never taken it on purpose. I've definitely accidentally
taken it when I had a triple Mal'Ganis, and then it worked out pretty good.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
Send your Void Lord, your sweet Void Lord stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com. I welcome them. I really do. I haven't seen a Void Lord go off, and I haven't been able to make it happen myself. So I like this a lot. So they also talked about the ranking system. There's been issues with the MMR. And I'm just going to kind of jump around our notes for a second here, because I forgot to reorganize this. Because Mike Dene got on the subreddit last week saying, hey, thanks everybody for pointing out that the MMR seems really freaking weird. I'm summarizing here. But they're going to do 2 things. They're going to make a change so that people get more points for wins and lose more points for loss. And so, yeah. That's basically it. And it's more or less what's happening here. They've adjusted the numbers to points given for first place. So they said in the original system, you got 240 points for first place on your first game and 24 points for first place on your 150th or later game. Now you're going to get 190 points for your first place on your first game and 95 points for first place on your 150th. So they're significantly reining in the chasm between early experience first place victories and much later experience first place victories. I
think this makes more sense, because 240 to 24, that was just insane.
Yeah, what they don't address in here, and I don't believe Mike Dene didn't address this in his comments either on Reddit, is what was going on with people getting first place and getting no points, because that was happening. And I had just assumed that the MMR system actually took everyone else's rating into account, and maybe you were unfavored, but it doesn't sound like that at all. The way this ranking system, this little paragraph about how they're changing it makes it sound, it kind of sounds like there's more or less base point values associated with what place you end a run in. But that hasn't been my experience. There's been quite a bit of variance in the points that I've been seeing.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, again, like this says your first game is at 240 and your 150th is at 24 currently. So, or I guess, wait, did they change the ranking system in this patch, or is this something they're doing later? No, we've made adjustments. So this is in now.
Everything we're talking about right now has happened. They don't mention losing
I'm not
points.
used to them moving at this speed at all. It's really messing with my brain.
Me neither. Even more.
Like I'm used to them telling me something and then being like, okay, so, you know, how many weeks do I have to wait for this to actually happen? It's like, no, it's today. Oh, okay. Whoops.
Yeah. In chat rooms, Hula in the chat room is saying, can anyone confirm that these changed? The last match I won was still only plus 23. So, and I want a better explanation of exactly how this ranking system works.
Yeah, because to me, it sounds like it's like a sliding scale, right? You start at 240 and then you work your way down to 24 seems to be like it should be the base. So now 95 should be the base. But yeah, if Hula just got 23, then maybe close your client and update.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, because to me,
it is still in beta. It could also have not worked.
Could also just have a bug. Yeah, but they haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't. They haven't come out and just said like how it works. Because to me, it seems like it's all. Not only is it a sliding scale based on how many games you play, but it also seems like it's variable based on your opponents. But I haven't found or gotten confirmation of any of that. Obviously, it's a sliding scale based on your number of games. That's confirmed here. But I don't know where the variance.
Well, and they did say on Reddit that they're going to do a more like in-depth post about how the MMR actually works, right?
Because it seems
that
like
was part of Mike's comments.
Pretty competitive system. Like it seems like it looks to me like a kind of a standard MMR, which also I'm surprised to see in this. And I'm even more confused, but we'll get to that later. There's another thing kind of making me scratch my head, but the only other things that were in this patch of note were bug fixes. Infested Wolf, the triple version of Infested Wolf, has been moved from Tavern Tier 2 to Tavern Tier 3, which is good because now it's consistent with its base form. I didn't realize that was a problem, but that's kind of hilarious. And same thing with Rat Pack. The triple version of Rat Pack was kind of the opposite issue. It was previously bugged and considered a Tier 3 minion. It has been moved down to a Tier 2 minion, which is consistent with its base form of a Rat Pack being a Tier 2 minion. There also plant tokens spawned from adapt effects are now Tavern Tier 1, and snake tokens spawned from Snake Trap are also now Tavern Tier 1. We got to put
makes sense.
Akazam Zarak higher on the list now, Jocelyn. You've got sick Snake Trap strategies.
There you go. I mean, it makes sense though, because if you like Tavern Tier actually matters for all these tokens, because if that's all that's left on your board, then they have to be dealing damage properly.
They also gave us future updates, kind of a peek at more future updates, which we already talked about last week, but there's even more information here. They said that they'd like to continue balancing minions and heroes based on how they're performing. They don't have any changes solidified at this time, but they're gonna have more to say soon, is their wording. So they're clearly looking to make more changes. They also said that they would like to continue rotating new heroes into the game while rotating existing heroes out, and that they have some recognizable faces that will be rolling out in December. Maybe Reno will be one of them.
I would think Reno would probably be one of them.
Or a dragon wearing a rather...
an explorer's hat?
An explorer's hat, which clearly is just because it was a Reno hat buff. And not because the dragon is Reno. They also said that they have 2 new minions in the works that they're currently planning to roll out in the December update. King Bagurgle, which is a brand new card, and Floating Watcher, which is from GVG, and I don't remember, and I'm looking up at this exact moment, and I found it. Floating Watcher, at least, I have no idea what tier it's going to be, but that was a 5-mana 4/4 demon that whenever your hero takes damage on your turn, gain +2/+2, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know how that... But you take damage all at once.
Yeah, so... once per round he'll get buffed, I assume.
If you're losing.
If you lose, yeah. Or if you play like vulgar homunculuses, maybe.
Oh yeah. Vulgar. Okay, sorry, I already forgot about homunculus.
It depends what it counts as your turn. Is that your turn in the tavern, your turn in combat, both? None?
I think for it to have any chance of even being remotely good, it has to be both. Because homunculus is the only minion right now that does that.
But like,
the non-demon guy, the one that grows infinitely. That's the other one. So never mind. Yeah, if you're going to demon strategy, you are taking damage. So,
which this does kind of make sense. This to me, I mean, obviously it's a brand new card, so we don't know exactly what it is. But King Bagurgle sounds to me like a Murloc thing. And if he's the king of the Murlocs, maybe this is what we were asking for with a Murloc that grows his attack and health like the mechs and the beasts have with the hyenas and the junk bots. So maybe that's what they've now designed for this specific mode. But this sounds like more help and support for the two tribes that we were saying were not quite as good.
They haven't mentioned if they're going to remove any minions. So I'm curious if this will just be strictly additive.
It probably, I mean, I would guess it would just be additive, but I mean, it's kind of interesting because by changing Voidlord from the tier 6 down to tier 5, I mean, they are messing with the total number of minions in each pool, right? So because
I
feel like they're not set in their total number of minions in a tier.
Yeah, and feels
flexible to me.
What I don't have a good sense of right now is the importance of like the size of a tribe's pool, or even because the one that grows isn't technically a demon, but it's clearly part of the tribe because it's all about demon synergy. I am unclear on how many the weight of how many minions in a tribe in Battlegrounds, like how much that even affects the strategy, because you only have 7 minion spots. Like that's a big reason I don't like Voidlord. Board space is a major limiting factor and part of what makes Battlegrounds so interesting. So I don't even know, like, because my brain goes, well, wait, that would be kind of unfair if they start getting more demons than any other. Like, there's more demons in this than there are any other tribe in terms of like when we're talking synergy. I don't even know the numbers off the top of my head, so it might actually straight up be wrong. But it makes me start thinking about that. I'm sure it's something they're thinking about, but I wonder how much of an effect it actually would even have on Battlegrounds, because you can only have so many damn minions on board at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, just a lot of thoughts there. I find Battlegrounds wildly fascinating, and I love the speed that they're moving at, because I'm just like right around I'm not even caught up at this point with like my brain in terms of like things I know to be true in Battlegrounds, and lots of things are already changing. Also, they mentioned that they're working on the first iteration of the stats feature to give you more insight into your performance. They're going to surface stats like how many triples you've created, your top 5 heroes by wins, and more. But this is not coming until next year. So just keep your eye out.
I like the idea of your top 5 heroes by wins. I want to know what I do best at.
I do too. That'd be cool.
But I mean, I just want more stats, period, because I feel like if they do more stats in Battlegrounds, and if it's successful and people want it and use it, then maybe we'll get more in-depth stats in like Standard and Wild and Arena and, you know, the places we've had forever.
That would be very cool. Yes. Yes, I would certainly like that.